Hello, friends. I am Michael Kingswood. I write fiction for fun and profit. Been doing that for a long time, but for longer than that, I've been a Star Trek fan. But I'm a very bad Star Trek fan because, to my shame, I have never finished Voyager or Enterprise. And I know what you're thinking, Kingswood. How can you do that and call yourself a Star Trek fan? I don't have a good answer for you, but we're fixing that now here on this channel. We are going through Star Trek Voyager and we're commenting on it episode by episode. And once that's done, we're going to do Enterprise. But, it's part of my penance for my poor fanhood. Hope you come along with me on that. We are up to this week over episode 2. It's called Parallax. But before we do that, I wanted to take a time to pimp my latest novel, which is called Warfare Qualified. It's a military science fiction book based on, it's not based on my Navy experience. I was 20 years in the U.S. Navy as a submarine officer, but it's influenced by that. And it's a pretty awesome book. You're going to love it. And I think you should check it out. I've created a little video here so you can see what it's about and go buy it, enjoy it. And then, tell me how much you liked it because, that's what you're supposed to do. Anyway, like I said, you're going to love that book. Go buy it. It's great. Go read it. It's fun. You're going to love it. But we're here to talk about Voyager primarily. So, episode 2, Parallax. So so I said the first episode did its job really well. The purpose of the first episode is to set up all the characters, let you know them a little bit, and set up the setting and the basic overall situation, and really make you like people so that you'll tune in for the next one. And the first episode did that pretty well. It was a good little mini problem in and of itself. There was actually a debatable solution to it that would have probably been right either way the captain went. And now they're here 70,000 light years away from home, cruising back home as best they can. And two different crews pushed together, forced to work together. It's a great situation, great setup. Problem is, this second episode kind of falls flat for me. And it falls flat for me for a couple different reasons. First of all, the technical problem, the threat of the week, if you will, where they're set up, they encounter the singularity and they have to get out of it. That's actually pretty cool. And it could have been good. But the other problem, the conflict between the Maquis crew and the Starfleet crew, not so good. And the main reason it's not so good is because Janeway, frankly, Janeway in this episode is insufferable and really retarded. And that's not disappointing because in the first episode, she's, stand up competent. I liked her as a captain, but this second one, it's like, what the hell is wrong with you? How could you be this, obtuse? And anyway, so let's go through this episode and see how it goes. So we start off with this dude's in the medical bay. His name, we find out later his name is Carrie. Lieutenant Carey, and B'Elanna Torres punched him out over a disagreement in engineering. Now she's part Klingon. We got that fact that she has a temper in the first episode. Um, was like, hey, what the hell? In the first step, at the end of the first episode, we had this impression that the Maquis and the Starfleet crews were joining together. They were going to work together, and so since in the first episode you were presented B'Elanna as their chief engineer type, and the Starfleet chief engineer guy, he died. He kind of came into this. I came into this. Yeah, I watched the first season of this 30 years ago, so I don't remember very much. But I came into this. I would have assumed that B'Elanna would be the chief engineer. Because here's the thing, right? You're in this situation. You're 70,000 light years away from home. Whatever, political disagreements you had back in Federation space, that means nothing now. You got to team up. You got to integrate the crews together as best you can, and you got to work together or you're all screwed. So the idea that you wouldn't immediately put the Maquis crew into the Starfleet ship, uh, wherever their skill sets worked best, and fully integrate them with full trust and confidence. Uh, I know that's a little bit of a tall order, but that's the practical and not retarded thing to do. But yet, at the beginning of this episode, B'Elanna is, fighting with Carrie because there's been no chain of command established in the engine room, and she disagreed with Carrie. Carrie disagreed with him, and she ended up slugging him. And now Tuvok wants to give her a court martial, um, which is weird because how do you court martial someone who's not part of Starfleet? But whatever. And of course, Chakotay, they're walking down the corridor together. Chakotay ex-Nazism says, no, we're not doing that. And Tuvok backs off because Chakotay's made XO. So Chakotay has authority now, but the other Maquis guys don't, which is retarded. Because let's not forget, the Maquis are morally correct in their conflict, and Starfleet is not. Starfleet are the bad guys. You can disagree with me, but you're wrong. Anyway, and so okay, so then Chakotay is going to talk to B'Elanna, and some other Maquis guys come by. They tell him, "Hey, man, we're behind you if you want to take over the ship." And Chakotay instantly shuts them down. He's like, "No, we are not doing that. We're not playing these bullshit political games. We are in this together. Captain Janeway's the captain. We're on her ship. We're working with her. We're 70,000 light years away from home. We can't play these stupid games." Chakotay's, he's on the ball. Goes and talks to B'Elanna, and he's like, "Hey, try to get along. Stop being a jerk. Stop picking fights." She says, "Hey, this guy's an idiot." He's like, "I don't care. Try to get along with him. And oh, by the way, you're going to be chief engineer." And there's a bit of this is where I don't like Chakotay to this episode because she rightly points out that Carrie is senior. He's the senior officer. Um, and also Chakotay comes out and says this: "You're going to be the chief. I'm going to make you chief engineer." And she says, "Well, as the captain says, I haven't talked to her about it yet." It's like, okay, so he's making a promise that he can't keep. And he's trying to, play the guy who's taking care of his troops, but he just made a promise to his troops that he doesn't know he can keep. This is something he and the captain should have talked about they should have talked about this. However much time was separated between episode 1 and 2, they should have worked all this crap out. And I know that doesn't make for drama for a TV show, but this is, basic. This is basic management and leadership here. You should If they hadn't worked it out, then he has no business promising something to B'Elanna without, you know, making sure that he knows he can follow through on it. Otherwise, not only does he make the captain look like a jackass, but he makes himself look like a jackass too. And and after that, you have cut to the cut to credits thing, the cut to the opening credits thing. And this brings up something that I've thought of ever since I first saw Voyager. It struck me as a little weird, and I'm going to bring it up now because you see it in the opening credits. The nacelles, how they kind of do the open up, they rotate upward, and then they go to warp speed. I was like, why? Okay, maybe it seems kind of cool for a graphic, but me as an engineering type, it's like, dude, the amount of mechanical linkages and actuators and hydraulics and stuff to do that, there's so many things to break there. One, just build the nacelles into proper configuration. Because they don't use the nacelles in impulse. The impulse engines are different, not part of the nacelles. Why have those damn things pivot at all? It's a really bad design choice, and I know it's like something they put in as a cool thing for the show, but it's like, all right, so they're in the department head meeting, but it's not really a department head meeting because they're talking about the status of the ship. They need more power because they're having reduced efficiency in the warp engines and talking about where to get the power from. And was it Harry says, "Hey, what about the holodeck reactors?" And they're like, "Yeah, let's divert power from the holodeck reactors." I'm like, "Wait, what? Holodeck has its own separate reactor suite? Seriously?" So they've got what powers it? Because the main reactor core is a matter antimatter reactor down in the engine room, and they have fusion reactors as backup to power the impulse engines in emergency situations. I remember that from the technical manual, but you really have separate reactors to power the holodeck instead of just increasing the output of the main reactor to accommodate the holodeck? That seems stupid. Well, that's actually retarded. Who came up with that idea? But apparently, they're like, hey, yeah, let's go divert holodeck reactors to the. Because that means they have the. I don't know how many holodecks they have on this ship, but that means they have to divert the ship's fuel supply to two or three different places. And if you just built the main reactor with enough power output to supply everything on the ship, including the holodeck, you wouldn't need to do that. And what the hell kind of design is that? Anyway, so talking this through, and Neelix and Cass walk into the meeting, and it's I want to say it's the department head meeting because of all the principals, but you know, except Harry's there. And Neelix comes in and is like, hey, we're here for the meeting. And the captain's like, this is for the senior officers. And Neelix is like, oh, well, I thought I could help. I know the space around here, and she knows things, and know, and Captain's like, oh, yeah, good point. I'm like, mother trucker, you couldn't have figured that out before now. I get it. You got to show how they're getting to arrange themselves, but it's like uh, this makes Janeway look like a retard, and frankly, I don't know, it sounds chauvinist, but like or basically a retard, because like, hey, we have all these people on the ship with us, and hey, we have this guy who knows the surrounding space, but we're not going to involve him in the meetings that the department head meetings. And also, it's a department head meeting. She says this is for the senior officers, but sirs, but you have Ensign Kim, Ensign Kim, who graduated from Starfleet Academy last week. He's not a senior officer unless his department head got killed during the thing. But I think he works under Tuvok. Could be wrong, but anyway, it's this whole situation is dumb. Anyway, but yeah, but Neelix and Cass are right. They should be in the meetings, and Janeway's like, "Oh yeah, I should have thought of that." Duh. And okay, so now they're in there. And Kessa's like, hey, let me help you set up hydroponics. Okay, yeah, Cargo Bay 2's got the thing for you. Let's set up hydroponics. That's a good idea. Let's grow some food because we're going to need it because we have, 70 years and we can replicate stuff, but also limited fuel. So let's grow food instead of replicating it. I dig it. And then they talked about the doc. Doc, who's cool. We like the doc, but like, man, he can't get out of there. We need a real doc. And they realized that Tom is study biology. So Tom's going to be the medic in training under the doc. Cool. But then all of a sudden, oh my God, we have something happened. We go out. Holy cow, the singularity. We got just narrowly avoided getting pulled into it. And well, let's figure out, let's get away from the singularity. Look at around here. Like, oh, there's a ship caught in it. And they have Neelix is the giving the explanation to the viewership guy this week. He's like pulling Gus aside. Hold on, you didn't see a singularity is like this, and he completely doesn't explain what an event horizon is correctly at all. It's not a sheaf of energy surrounding the singularity. It's just the point at which escape velocity exceeds the speed of light. It's whatever. I mean, different physics. They know warp drive. We don't. Maybe they know things about singularities we don't. But at this point, going through the episode, I'm like, I'm kind of doing this more and more and more. God. They try to contact the ship that's in question. No idea what's going on. It's like that, and then Janeway pulls. Oh yeah, Chakotay asks B'Elanna down in the engine room about how to take care of something. Or I forget what it was. She gives him this suggestion. He looks at the captain. Captain says, "Do it." And she's like, "Let me talk to you alone." And she starts to ream him out because why are you countermanding me? And she's actually right because he didn't countermand him. He didn't countermand her. He just went straight to B'Elanna instead of going to Lieutenant Carey first, who was officially still, even though it hadn't been formally done, he was the senior guy. He's the senior engineer. And Chakotay and her had already talked about putting B'Elanna in charge of chief engineer, and she rebuked him. She didn't rebuke him. She was like, "No, we're not going to do that." And Chakotay, this is an earlier thing, is like, "Hey, actually, no, this happened here." Chakotay, at this point, Chakotay, she's like, "No, he's not going to be the chief engineer." And he's like, "Well, she's the best engineer I've ever seen." She's like, "Yeah, well, she can't because she's my key guys, my keys people aren't going to work with them." And he's like, "Well, you made me XO." And he's like, "Well, yeah, but you're qualified. You graduated the academy. You had command line experience before you went to the Maquis." And this is technically, might be technically a good answer, but it's also retarded because this is her being pompous. This is, Starfleet tends to be very pompous and very self satisfied, except for our favorite crew who's on the ship that we're with. But in this case, Janeway is the Starfleet person who's very pompous and self satisfied. And, oh, I'm better than all you. And at one point, Chakotay is like, "Hey, I'm looking out for my people." I was like, "Your people? Your people? What about, are they not part of the ship?" And he's like, basically, he's like, "You're not letting them be." And he's right about that because she's set up these barriers, and she's like, "Oh, your people are worse than us, and we can't." And it's like, "Mother trucker, you're 70,000 light years away from home. You need to be using everybody you possibly can, integrating the crew together as much as you can, and put everyone who has any skill, integrate completely into the crew. No differences. You can't have this Maquis and Starfleet divide. It has to be." And I know the whole purpose of this episode is to say we're eliminating that divide, but this should have been something that was intuitively obvious to her from the start. But no, at the end of the first episode, when Chakotay is there, I'm the XO, and there's she's the captain. I'm the XO, and everybody's like, "Yay, we're going home." That that was the time to resolve all this crap. The I mean, you're gonna have tensions. You can have tensions between the former Maquis and the Starfleet crew and all that stuff. That's natural. But to have the divide coming down from the very top, from the captain who should know better. Oh, yeah, you're qualified. You went to the academy. And nobody cares who went to the academy when you're 75 light years from home. You stupid woman. Put the best person in the best job and yeah, and lay down the law and say there are no divisions on this ship. We are all in it together. That's the proper command thing to do. But she's being a jackass. It's still a good scene between the two of them, and the best part about it is when she's being a jackass, and Chakotay is like, "Look, I'm trying to help you. I'm sorry you can't see that." And that sort of smacks her across the face a little bit, and she lightens up a bit, but it's like, dude, Janeway, you suck right now. Um, so we get this great scene with Cass and the doc in the sick bay. Uh, and Doc's like, I'm not just a doctor. I'm the coagulation of 2,000 different medical sources and 47 different experience medical professionals, the experience of all of them put into it. Me, I am just like the ultimate doc ever. And it's like, well, you're probably right. You're just kind of a jerk, but you're a funny jerk. So we like you. But he's also, the Cass is great because she's like, well, what's your name? And it completely flummoxes him. It's like, what? I don't know that I need a name. And then she's like, hey, you're shrinking. And he's like, holy cow, I'm 10 centimeters shorter than I used to be, which is a little bit weird. And of course, he tries through the entire episode, Doc's trying to get them to fix uh, his holographic projectors. And they're like, yeah, later. Yeah, later. Yeah, later. Okay. Um, well, Janeway, after Chakotay, he didn't read her the riot act, but he was like, hey, talk to Balana for the love of God. And she's like, oh, I guess you should talk to Balana because I'm a retard. I didn't think about that before. They have a talk. And obviously they're both hard headed. Balana is obviously hiding something at this point. She's insecure or we don't know what. And Janeway is honestly trying to get through and trying to be personal, trying to, you know, build a bridge, which is good. She should have done that a long time ago. But well, you know what I mean. But we have to see the building of bridges in an episode, but it pisses me off that the way they did it is by making the captain freaking bad leader retard to do it. I'm sorry. Anyway, so Captain, she tries. So Janeway, she does well here. Janeway does well. She's trying to reach out, and Balana is sort of like insecure, and something's bothering her, and she's like, I got to go. So she hurries out, and we find out that the dock is shrinking, and we realize, holy cow, we're still something about the singularity messed up his holographic projectors. Well, okay. And he's also seeing a whole bunch of headaches in the crew. It's like, oh, geez, well, okay. Or they're going to the planet to try to get more help, and then all of a sudden they're back at the singularity. Oh my gosh, what's going on? And how do we get back here? And Harry says, this is weird. The ship's inertial system says we went, 1.2 light years or whatever, but the star chart says we're back where we started. I'm like, dude, what star chart? You needed to explain this. And it's easy. All you had to do was at some point say, yeah, we imported the data from Neelix's ship. Remember, Neelix was on a ship. We took the navigational data from his ship, Yeah, it's a different format, it's a different language, but Omni Domini, we can accept that they did that, but they don't say that. They never didn't say that in episode one. They didn't say it too. Somehow they magically have the star chart. Like, damn it, guys, just these little things. They're stuck on around this singularity. I was like, what the heck's going on? And there was weird thing where the captain says, "You guys do your thing. I'm gonna do my own analysis." What? You're the captain. You don't do analysis. You do captain things, and other people do analysis and make reports for you. Um, what the frick are you doing? And we cut down to engineering, and Balana and Carrie are talking, and because Chakotay talked Janeway into asking Balana to come to the next meeting, and Carrie's like, "You're coming to the next meeting," and he's kind of, "But you're gonna shut the hell up and just don't speak unless you spoke to. You're not the engineering guy. I am," and he's really a dick. I mean, I get why he doesn't like her. I mean, she broke his nose. But at the same time, it's like, you're kind of being a dick there, dude. Um, yeah, and then weird stuff happens. Harry has headaches, and 26 more people have headaches too. And it's like, okay, this is proceeding through the ship, and what the hell's going on? And of course, Balana has the idea that they hear the transmission, and I'm calling, like, hey, the transmission they heard at the very beginning is them calling to apparently to themselves, saying, "Hey, do you need help?" And they're in the department head meeting there, and Tom's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, wait a minute, we didn't, we, we didn't get sucked into the singularity until after we sent the transmissions. So how are we hearing it now?" And then Janeway is like, "Oh, well, if you had only studied temporal mechanics, dummy, you would know." And then she proceeds to explain the entire thing about how temporal mechanics works, and we have to do this thing, and I have a great idea. And everyone's like, "Oh yeah, good idea, Captain." And I was like, "Wait a minute, wait, this is not how I have heard that Voyager sometimes suffers from an excess of a problem that is created by meaningless technobabble that is then solved by meaningless technobabble." And at this point, I'm beginning to think this is an episode that's like that because I'm like, what the? This is why is the captain dictating all this technical stuff when she has an entire crew whose job is to advise her, but she's the one advising them on everything. This is not how this is not how it's supposed to work. And they're like, "We're going to store up warp particles and put warp particles all over the ship." I'm like, what the hell is a warp particle? What the hell is a warp particle? Uh, uh, my understanding is a warp engine is a disruption, is a folding of space time around the ship. What the hell's a warp particle? They just throw this thing out there. And it's like, oh, yes, well, that makes perfect sense. Let's use warp particles. So, okay. So they end up getting in there. They get close to the ship, and it's like, okay. Well, sheesh, we actually are stuck in the singularity. What are we going to do? How are we going to get out? Well, maybe there's a rupture in the singularity. Computer, scan for ruptures in the singularity. Oh, look at that. There's a rupture in the singularity over there. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? It's retarded. And then, but it's a very small thing. It's a very small rip. It's never explained how this rip thing has happened, except that it's, starting to collapse. I'm like, okay, maybe it's from when they came in. Who knows? Whatever. And Tom Paris is like, hey, you know what? We got to go over there in the shuttlecraft. I'm the best shuttlecraft pilot on the ship. Yeah, yeah. Somebody died because I was hot dogging with Wesley Crusher back in the academy, but That was a one-time thing. I'm the best pilot. I'm going to take the shuttle and get us out of here with that." And the captain's like, "No, I know more about temporal mechanics than you do. I am taking that. Alana, come with me. Ha ha ha. Because I'm the fuck's sake." On the bright side, it does set up a nice conversation with Balana and the captain there in the shuttle, where they finally get through why Balana is all defensive because she's feeling insecure because she left the academy. And she left the academy because she had all these disciplinary things and she felt like everybody was against her. She wasn't gonna, couldn't cut it, so she left. And then of course Janeway is like, "Well, I have your file because we looked up all you monkey guys before we left DS9 and all of your professors liked you, especially Professor Chapman, and they put big glowing recommendations for you." She's like, "Oh, I had no idea. You always shut me down." It's like, "Yeah, well, professors tend to like people who are smart, who can challenge them." And it's like, "Oh my gosh, I was so insecure. Especially, I was so insecure and self-centered and narcissistic. I didn't think that." She didn't say that, but that's what it amounts to. But when you're young, you tend to not realize how these sorts of things work. And so, she made a mistake. She left the academy when she shouldn't have, but now she's getting a second chance. And her and the captain managed to widen the gap in the thing. And they come back to find the ship. It's like, "Oh crap, there's two ships. Um, which one?" And Alana thinks it's one of them. Janeway thinks it's the other, and eventually Janeway says, "Hey, look, no. The reflection is going toward the thing because that's what we did a minute ago. This here is sitting there waiting for us." Now, meanwhile, back on the Voyager, Chakotay said, "As soon as they get on board, get out that hole." And Tom's like, "Yes, sir." And so they figure out the right ship. They get on board. And they go up to the bridge. And nobody's doing anything. Chakotay is like, "Mr. Paris is about to show us his great piloting skills." And it's like, "Oh man, the hole has collapsed another 10%." And it's like, "Oh crap. If only Paris had gone as soon as they docked the way Chakotay ordered him to 10 minutes ago, which was the entire plan." And Janeway is like, "Well, I learned at the academy. Sometimes you just got to punch your way through. Full impulse." They go through, and yay! They go through the thing, and it's like, "Oh my gosh, oh, we're getting struck." And they have the thing that I hate most in all of Star Trek. It's one thing to say, "Shield's collapsing." Well, that makes sense. But then Tuvok yells out, "Whole integrity failing." What does whole integrity failing mean? To me, that means the ship is breaking apart. Or did you just have a whole breach on a particular deck? Because in, Next Generation and other shows, they've said whole breach on deck 35 or deck 16 or whatever. That would make more sense. But whole integrity failing, that's like the. And sometimes in Star Trek, they go too far into the everything is a field that goes in 10% or 20% or whatever. And it feels like that was how that was. And they come through, they get out, they escape, they're yay, and everybody's like, "Yeah, okay, cool." And Janeway and Chakotay look at each other, and Chakotay's like, "Yeah, told you so." And Janeway's like, "Yeah, you okay." And then B'Elanna is the chief engineer. She goes down to the engineering room, and everyone, the Maquis people who were there before are like, "Cool." And then she goes up to Carrie and is like, "Hey, look, I don't know protocol. I need your help, and I hope we can work together." And he's like, "Look, you're always going to be my best." He's disappointed. He's obviously disappointed, but he's not the chief, but he's a professional because, of course, he is. They shake hands. Everybody's good. And up at the balcony up above, Chakotay and Janeway are watching, and Chakotay is like, "Eh, yeah." And Janeway's like, "Yeah, cool." And they go down, and he's like, "Hey, tell me this. If the roles were reversed and you had to abandon your ship and come on to my Maquis ship, would you serve under me?" And she's like, "The good thing about being captain is enough to answer that." And of course, the answer, of course, is no, because she's a pompous ass at this point. least in this episode. In the last episode, she wasn't. She was reasonable. But in this episode, she's a pompous ass who is unable or unwilling to accept reality until it's pummeled into her head. Of course, if the way she's presented in this episode, if she had gone to Chakotay's ship and the Chakotay's people were in charge, she would have led a mutiny. She would never have submitted. As opposed to Chakotay, who was team player. Well, so in this episode, Janeway sucks completely. Like I said, the whole getting sucked into a singularity thing could have been good. It's kind of stupid how they dealt with it and stupid how they got out of it. And it also could have exploring the conflict, the residual conflict between the Maquis and the Starfleet people could have been good. But it was retarded. The entire thing is retarded. Hated it. It's bad all around. And then the final scene with Tom and the Doc. The Doc has shrunk down even more, and he's sitting in his chair. He's like this feet tall. And he's like, "Hey," and Tom's like, "I like you better this way." And Doc's like, "Hey." It's like that's like the lowliest, worst original series ending joke possible. Because at least the original series ending jokes, a lot of them, even if they were cheesy, they were sort of funny. But this is just cringe. So yeah, it's bad. Bad second episode. That said, second episode of TNG, the Naked Now, wasn't very good at all. The second episode of DS9, I don't even remember what it was, but I don't think it was all that great either. So, we're not going to say that we're not going to write the series off at this point, but as bad because it makes it's bad because it makes the captain look bad. Everybody else ends up looking pretty good, but the captain looks like a complete jackass and frankly an insufferable bitch through this entire episode. And it's like when she wasn't that way in the first one. She was personable, she was competent, she delegated, she listened to her people. In this episode, she's ramrodding everything through herself, not listening to anybody until she's forced to, and is applying stupid. Okay, it's one thing to say, yes, Chakotay, you're qualified to be medic, so because you went to the academy, you had a command thing. Okay, that's reasonable, but it's just like everybody, if they didn't go to Starfleet Academy, they're not qualified to be on my ship. Well, woman, they're on your ship, and they have skills. Make use of them. She's like such a pedantic rules lawyering, and like I hate her in this episode, and hopefully I know they do better with her going forward. It's because you can only do better. But in this episode, she's just horrible. Horrible commander. Anyway. We've done 2 episodes now. We're going to go on and do the rest of the season and the rest of the series, and I hope you'll join me on it. In the meantime, we do other things here on the channel as well. I'm going to get back into reading my short fiction stories here. I usually do that on Story Saturday. I haven't been doing it so much the last few weeks just because I've been dealing with some real life stuff. I haven't done much on the channel at all. And I already showed you my my book earlier, so I won't cost you with that anymore. But definitely do check out. I'll cost you with this. MikeKingswood.com/store is where I have all my books set up on my own store. I'm also over on Amazon. This is you can see I've got something like 100. Amazon has 137 titles under my name. That's only because some of them haven't been properly correlated together. But lots of books, and but I'm also on all the other bookstores, Barnes& and Noble, Kobo, Apple, you name it. If you go to michaelgainsbow.com/books to read the number 2, you'll come up on this page where you can see uh, covers of my various books, and if you go and click on them, like this one, you will see. If you go to get it now, you'll see that all the various bookstores where you can find it. The only one that doesn't show up is my own personal store, just because the way Books to Read is set up. So just, that's the way to go for that. So if you like me, you think you might like to check out my books, go check them out. Appreciate it. In the meantime, come on back next time. We'll do episode 3 and we'll of Voyager season 1, and we'll have fun. Uh, yeah, I am certain I will like episode 3 more than episode 2. At least I hope so. Because doing the whole series, and I remember liking season 1 quite a bit. I just back when it first came out, I was just busy with finishing up college and doing other things, and I didn't watch it all. So I'm sure I'll like it more than this one. But anyway, episode 3 next time. I hope to see you then. Until then, don't do anything I wouldn't do.